Hello and welcome to our Time to Sow event. Whether you're joining us from the UK, from Ireland, from the USA, or even Uganda, you are extremely welcome. If you are already a regular giver or you sponsor a child, thank you so much for the difference that you are making. If you're new to Fields of Life, welcome, and we hope that tonight you can feel inspired and challenged to think about how you can make the difference in a child's life. Over the next 40 or so minutes, you'll be hearing stories of hope and transformation. We hope that you'll be both encouraged and challenged as you hear about how Fields of Life is meeting the needs of some of the most vulnerable children and young people in East Africa. Hopefully you will have seen our campaign, A Time to Sow, a campaign that is highlighting the educational crisis that is currently unfolding in East Africa. One of the most devastating consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic has been that children are missing school, and many schools across East Africa have been closed for over a year. Tonight we're going to be hearing about A Time to Sow. We're going to be hearing from different people whose lives have been changed and transformed. Here is a short film telling you a little bit about A Time to Sow. And then we're going to be hearing from our founder, Trevor Stevenson, who will be telling us about a young person who has made a big difference to his life.
In Uganda, the schools closed in March 2020. And even now, more than 12 months later, many of those classes remain closed. No electricity, no internet, no Zoom, no classes. 15 million children in Uganda are missing their opportunity of getting an education. For many children in Uganda, school is where they get their main meal of the day. No school means hungry children. No school means children labouring on farms. No school means girls getting married off before their 15th birthday. Many of these children will never go back to school. Fields of Life has been supporting thousands of children in Uganda to get an education, but we have another 542 children who are waiting for their opportunity to get an education, and they need your support. Will you help a child get an education in Uganda? They need your help, and they need it now. Now is the time to sow.
In 1996, it became very clear to Fields of Life that the catalyst for real lasting change was education. And of course, this is at the heart of all that Fields of Life does. So in 1997, Fields of Life Academy was built for the local community around the farm. And so in February of that year, a little boy walked through the doors of this school. He was the first intake of students. It was evident that this little lad could not afford books, pencils, uniform, lunch, and even shoes. It was clear that we needed to find a donor who would sponsor him through his education, which we managed to do. He quickly learned English, and by the end of the first year, whenever I would address the school, he would be my interpreter. I'm not sure that he told the rest of the school what I was saying, or he just made up his own story. But joking aside, I watched his progress carefully through school and university, wondering where his studies would take him as regards a career. Then, unknown to me, I discovered he got a job with the Fields of Life head office in Kampala. He oversees the WASH programme, and his main focus presently is overseeing the I Am Girl project funded by Irish Aid. The great guy I've just mentioned is Daniel Semenganda. He was sponsored by good friends David and Gillian Napier, who we knew from our time in Marilyn. And without their intervention, Daniel would not be in the position he is in today. You too could make all the difference in a young person's life by sponsoring a child in East Africa, as David and Gillian did. Will you join with us today and make the difference in a child's life?
The first school was built in Uganda, and then Trevor came along and said, we've got the building, we've got the pupils, but we need some money to help our children along. So child sponsorship was broached, and Gillian and myself readily jumped at the opportunity to help some unknown child thousands of miles away.
I think we really enjoyed every season getting letters from Daniel, and we had 2 letters a year plus a Christmas card, and we really looked forward every year to getting that. And it was great excitement when that came into the house and it was read by ourselves and also to our own 2 boys at home. And watched him as he went through primary school, secondary school, and then on into university. And it was lovely to see his ambition in that he wanted to make great use of his education, and he didn't want to let us down as sponsors. That came through as well. He wanted to do his best always for us. So whenever we realised then he was going to university, we continued to sponsor him through those years. And then to eventually find that Daniel had got through university, graduated, and then came to work for Fields of Life, well, that was just the icing on the cake for us.
Yes,
it was great.
It was. We have been very humbled that we would appear to have given so little on a monthly basis, and yet God has taken it into this young man's life and brought him right through to adulthood and maturity, giving him a will to go on, educate himself, not just for himself, but that he might then be able to help others in his country.
Well, my one word that I always think of in child sponsorship is life-changing, because the very little that we gave has made a life-changing effect for Daniel and for his family, because I know he supports them as well. Child sponsorship has been an opportunity, a door opening for Daniel and for so many other young people. I think child sponsorship is a wonderful opportunity for us to be able to share what we have with someone else and make a real fundamental difference to their life as it has done for him. And I would say everybody should be involved in child sponsorship.
These were the lyrics of a song that I heard most my entire childhood. The song I thought to define my destiny, the song that identified me when I was in school, before I joined Fields of Life. I was born in 1987, a second born in a family of 5 children, 4 boys and 1 girl, found in one of the villages in Uganda, Magere village in central Uganda. Access to basic needs was a challenge. Education was a luxury. Our parents could not even keep us in the cheapest schools of the area. We would struggle to keep in school, and our family was categorized as one of the poorest families at the time. However, like any other parent, they found a coping mechanism where we had to go to schools, and every time we would be asked for fees, we would change school until we went to all the schools that were around the community, and we are devoted, and every school knew about us, and we could hardly keep in school. My performance was very bad. I would always be among the last children in class. Because of this instability, I got the name Mwami Chisembo, which literally means the last person of the class. And that made me hate school, and I thought I would not make it in school. I thought I was stupid, I thought I was dense. Although my mother had hope in God, myself and my other brother and sister, we thought God was taking so long to answer. I was wrong. Then my mother decided to visit a nearby church in the neighborhood. A pastor announces that there was an organization that had come and was going to offer sponsorship to the poor children in the community. My mother was excited about the news, and the following morning she was so excited to go and visit the school, and she was one of the first parents to seek an opportunity for her children and see if they can get a better education. After being offered the place, the next day my mother came back and announced the news that my children had found a treasure in the middle of nowhere. And she was very happy because she had found the school. On the 5th of February 1998, the date I cannot forget in my entire life, my 2 brothers and I joined Fields of Life Academy. For the first time in my whole life, I stayed in school for a full term. The second term of that very year, I was told by the head teacher that I'd been connected to a family, Mr. and Mrs. David Napier, and these were my sponsors. They committed to pay my fees and to keep me in school for as long as I wanted to be in school. And that was my greatest moment in my entire life. I remember things changed and everything in that school was new to me. Keeping in class the entire time, having a meal made me very happy and surprised me. School started being so interesting. That first time I was number 5 and that was the worst position in that school. I kept working so hard because I did not want to disappoint my sponsor and my parents. I managed to read so hard, and in my national exams I scored a grade 8, which was a very good grade, and I was the best in the school in that year. I was given an offer to join the Grace High School, which is Fields Wife Secondary School, and great things continue happening in my life. I continued working hard and school became so interesting for me. I did not only perform well academically, but also it grew my spiritual life, because at the school we are exposed to Christian teachings that really shaped us in the Christian way of life. I continued working hard, still happened to be one of the best performers in the school. After emerging as the best student in high school, Fields of Life offered to pay my tuition at Makerere University, one of the best universities in East and Central Africa, where I graduated with a bachelor's degree in social sciences. After university, I was offered a very good opportunity to work with Fields of Life under Water, Sanitation and Hygiene Department, which is WASH, where we support vulnerable people like I was to access clean water and also access decent living in terms of sanitation and hygiene. Currently, I'm pursuing a master's degree in management studies in monitoring and evaluation in one of the best institutions in Uganda, Uganda Management Institute, and I'm always working so hard to make sure I make myself a better person. I'm very happy that my destiny was changed, and I'm happy to be part of the team that is also changing lives of other children and other vulnerable people in my country and my community. When I look back, I still don't like that old song. I now sing a new song. I've not yet arranged the lyrics well, but I know it's a song of hope, a song of transformation, a multi-standard duet of Fields of Life and Daniel Semaganda. Thank you, Fields of Life, for changing my life, building hope, and changing my destiny. God bless you.
I want to say thank you to Daniel for sharing his story with us. Isn't it incredible what he has been able to achieve when given the opportunity to go to school? If you're a child sponsor, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your faithful and generous support. I hope you have been encouraged by hearing Daniel's story and seeing how he is now giving back to support others. Perhaps there is someone that you know who might also like to support a child through their education. If so, we would love if you would share our child sponsorship program with friends and family and encourage them to join with us and become child sponsors. Now we are going to hear just how your support is making a real difference in the lives of those we partner with.
If I would have not get this opportunity, I would have been now in the garden, I would have got married, and I would have been now on the street. But I'm now at school. My future is bright.
When I complete my studies, I want to be a doctor. Going to school has changed my life so much. I am able to read and write and even to speak English now.
These people are really generous because they have sponsored children, they have built for us schools, whereby you find that they don't know us, but the way they care about our schools and children is very good.
To me, it has been a very good opportunity in that there is some little money that is now we can now spare as a family, which we can use for other domestic issues like buying food and medical care at home. To this, I am very, very much grateful.
First of all, education has helped empower both boys and girls. Now they can compete for different jobs. It has also built confidence.
I believe that when I continue with my work of teaching, I'll be blessed tomorrow. And I pray that let God give me knowledge and ability to continue inspiring many Ugandans, many East African children, so that they also become more teachers like me tomorrow.
When I think about the person supporting me to study, I think that they have saved my life from all bad things, like early marriage and pregnancy, ignorance, and all bad things. May God bless all those who support children to go to school.
It's amazing to see how your support is transforming communities in East Africa. Our team in East Africa work on the ground with vulnerable communities, and in particular, our community development officers see firsthand the challenges and struggles that children and their families are facing. Here is Monica, one of our community development officers in East Africa, to provide an update on the impact that COVID-19 school closures are having on young people today.
Hi everybody, my name is Amos Monica. I work for Fields of Life East Africa in the western region of Uganda. I work mostly with the children and schools and then their communities around. I'd love to give you a brief experience that I have had with COVID-19 in relation to my working with children and schools. Last year in March, all schools were closed totally in Uganda, meaning all our learners or children stopped getting formal education because only 1% of the families in Uganda can actually have access to digital learning, meaning all our children had to be engaged in other activities which were not related to formal education. This has had a devastating effect on our children and our learners, especially in the areas of child abuse. Related to girls, many girls have been defiled and ended up pregnant or getting exposed to HIV/AIDS and other sexual transmitted diseases. An example is of one child in one of our school in Senior 3, a 16-year-old girl who conceived during the lockdown as a result of defilement, and she could not return back to school when schools opened this year because she gave birth and she had to look after this child up to 6 months. And then on the side of boys, I find many boys were engaged by their parents in activities to get money, and these boys have gotten so used to money that they don't see a benefit of returning to school. This is so worrying for me as a community worker because we don't know what the future of these boys and girls will be if they never return back to school. And recently the government has announced the second wave of the coronavirus coming to Uganda. This sets lots of worries to us as social workers, as parents, and as Fields of Life. What will happen to our children outside there? Keep praying for us as we keep doing what we can do within our means. Bye.
A word of thanks to our team on the ground in East Africa who've worked tirelessly during the season to provide support and hope to so many needs and so many challenges. By signing up today to become a Hope partner and commit to a monthly gift of just £12 or €12 a month, you can help Fields of Life as we support our partner schools to be sustainable and address issues like gender inequality, child protection and poor sanitation. Please consider if you would become a Hope partner today and join us as we seek to change lives through partnership schools with a monthly gift. Next this evening, we're going to hear a story from a young girl called Mercy, not much older than my own daughter Leanna. It's been a really tough year, particularly for girls in East Africa, and this story really struck home to me. Watch this.
My name is Maswa Nyenze. I live with my mother and my little brother. I have been out of school because of lockdown. I wake up every day and I do my housework. I go to the garden to get food to eat at home because we don't have enough money to buy food in the market. During lockdown, I missed learning because I did not have home learning materials. I was almost stripped. I feared because I saw my friend getting pregnant because we were out of school. I was being exposed to these risks because I had to go to the well every day and go to the garden alone.
Iko downing nga yakatandika nali nalikirira mase genda n'ebikurupu nagenda nafumbirwa ate nafuna olubuto kubanga tuli mu kiseera kibi nga tetukyakola ate tetukyasoma nga ndi awo bwentyo nga sirina mirembe ngamba nti mase wange bakyakundolokako agende ambuleko.
I came back to school, I'm safe, and I have learned more in class. I have acquired agricultural skills like feeding pigs and gardening. I have also acquired other skills like making liquid soap and reusable sanitary pads. I get lunch at school every day. My education is important because I want to become a nurse after studies and treat people in my community.
Essomero lyagulawo mase agenda n'asoma n'akomawo n'esanyuka akati siyalikira bikurupu ebyabeerawo ng'atambula mu bikurupu byonna byakoma naye kila mwana wange ndajja ofuna olubuto naye kakati asoma n'ata n'ambuulira essomero limukuuma bulungi.
She is hardworking and active in class. Her performance is good, and this will help her achieve her dream of becoming a nurse in future. Education helps these young girls to learn how to read and write, also helps them to remain in school safely.
Earlier, we heard from our founder, Trevor, that education has always been at the heart of Fields of Life, and education is still at the heart of all that we do. We are committed to seeing children and young people reach their full potential, and we believe that our sponsorship model is the best way to do that. We also believe that children thrive when their greater environment is thriving. By sponsoring a child, you'll provide what they need to attend school as well as supporting their wider school community. We've also heard about the devastating consequences that COVID-19 is having on children and young people in places like Uganda. After more than 12 months out of school, with thousands unlikely to ever return, Uganda's young people face a COVID-19 education crisis. Our team in East Africa have identified 500 children that urgently need an intervention to help them continue and improve their education. Can you help us reach this goal and support these children as well as their families and their schools? With your help, this support for the wider school community can include many different things, from teacher training to improved toilet facilities and sanitation, as well as sustainable food programs to ensure that every child in the school receives a filling, nutritious meal. Now here's a short video to explain more about our sponsorship model.
Providing vulnerable children in East Africa with access to education has always been at the very heart of the work of Fields of Life. Meet Rachel. Having grown up in a rural village in Uganda, Rachel's family faced many challenges which make it difficult for her to go to school. Rachel is not alone. The cost of education is one of the biggest barriers preventing many children like her from going to school. We believe that every child deserves this opportunity. The Feeds of Life Child Sponsorship Program ensures that Rachel's school fees are paid for, she receives a school uniform, and supplies she needs to go to school every day. Her family no longer have to worry about her education, and they have hope for a better future for their daughter. However, it doesn't stop there. We believe that the key to impacting as many children as possible is to ensure that their school is thriving. Our desire is to see school communities taking ownership of their development. This starts by identifying the unique needs of each school and listening to their aspirations. We partner with them to work towards a sustainable future. Here are some of the ways that we can do this.
Our children, because of this kind of support, holistic education, they have gained skills of farming, and you find that each class in the school have a project. And if all the classes in the school have this kind of projects, then feeding is going to be sustained forever. A child will continue to study when knowing that at lunchtime I'm not going back home, but I have food.
We grow our own crops. We plant maize, we plant beans in the gardens. We use our own children to plant, to weed, and to harvest.
A piggery project was started at this school to help generate income which can be used to support school running. It also allows children to enjoy interactive learning and gain skills in farming and running enterprise projects.
2 piglets, as we see them here, were brought, and by the time they were bringing these piglets, they were already 3 months old. We don't have a specific class that we are bringing them here to feed, because this is a school project. We want all the child who is in the school to participate actively.
The Quality Education Program provides teacher training. This training equips, resources, and motivates teachers to continue their professional development. Ultimately, this benefits every child in their classroom.
The school management committee as well has been trained. We had most of the schools in the region without SMCs being trained.
My name is Ukelo Dennis, Development Coordinator, Fields of Life. We want to empower our parents, enroll parents to start VSLA groups. We have seen that this is the approach which empowers our families. The moment these families, we gather them together and they start the group, they start saving the little money they are having, it will help us to sustain our child sponsorship program. To save the little money that they are having, it will help them in the future pay the school fees for their children.
As a Feeds of Life child sponsor, by supporting a child with their education, you also impact their family, their school, and their community. Will you partner with us in our vision to see a generation of young people equipped with the education and the skills they need to change lives, build hope, and transform their communities?
Now, we have some very exciting news to share. One of our most ambitious projects, the construction of a vocational training institute, is almost complete. In fact, we have had our first students enroll already, and in September, our first certificate courses will be starting. This is an area with very high levels of unemployment due to decades of war. These young people urgently need skills and practical help. If you would like to provide a scholarship at this vocational training institute, it costs £100 or €100 per month. In December, we shared with you a story of a young person called Judith, whose strength and resilience moved us all. We felt that many of you may not have heard Judith's story, and so we felt it was only right to show you her story again. And after that, I'm going to give you a quick update on how Judith is getting on. Here is Judith's story again.
I met Judith whenever I was visiting Fields of Life projects in Uganda in August 2019. And she left an indelible imprint on me. Her story is one that I will never forget. I remember walking into this little compound, that red Ugandan soil. It was dusty and smoky, but as I approached this young girl, she ran towards me and was just fascinated by my hair, which was so different to hers. And she ran her hands through my hair, and she was so excited about the opportunity to plait it. And so I, like any young girl, love getting my hair done. So I sat down on this little broken plastic chair in the middle of this compound, and she started to plait my hair. And as she did, she started to tell me a little bit about her story. And very early on, we both worked out that we were the same age, and we were both born in 1992, and it only made what she was about to tell me next even more difficult to hear. Judith was just 27 whenever I met her, and she had never been to school. She had completely missed out on the opportunity of an education, because she had grown up in Gulu, which was the epicenter of a brutal conflict that has become known as one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. What happened in Gulu ended up killing thousands of people. 2 million people, almost the population of Northern Ireland, were displaced, and 25,000 children were forced to face the atrocities of war and become child soldiers. Judith was just 7 years old whenever her mum went out one day to get food for her family and never returned. She had been caught up in an ambush in her home village and had been killed. And tragically, just a few months later, Judith's father got sick and he too died. And so at just 8 years old, Judith was left in charge of 3 younger siblings, having to head up her household, orphaned at 8 years old. And when Judith was 12, she encountered a man who told her that he would look after her and her younger siblings, that he would provide them with what they needed. And it quite quickly transpired that this man was a rebel. Judith was abused by him. She was left pregnant, and no child should have to go through what she went through at such a young age. At 18, it looked like Judith's life had finally taken a turn for the better. She was introduced to a family friend. They fell in love, they got married, they had 2 children together. That was until the tragic night when Judith recounted the rebels stormed their home and killed her husband right before her eyes, robbing her of the only happiness and stability and security that she had ever known. As Judith opened up to me and shared her story with me, I honestly didn't know what to say or do. I was shocked, I was devastated, I couldn't quite believe what I was hearing. That time after time after time again, she had to deal with this trauma and tragedy, and after each one, pick herself up again and go again. I felt so uncomfortable at the injustice of how 2 girls who were exactly the same age could experience such different lives simply because of where they were born. I couldn't help but think, what if that had been me? What would I have done? I don't think that I would have had her bravery or her brilliance. She is an astonishing individual, and her strength, her resilience. I'm in awe of the woman that she has become despite her circumstances. She is easily the strongest, most resilient person that I have ever met. Just last year, Judith was given the opportunity to go to vocational college and to pursue her dream of becoming a hairdresser. When she talked to me about the opportunity that she had to become a hairdresser, her eyes just filled with joy and excitement that she finally had the chance to do what she wanted to do. It was obvious that she loved it. She had such a passion for engaging with people as they sat in that little chair for her to do their hair, and as she got to bless them in that way and make friendships along the way too. And she was the happiest that she had ever been. Just a few weeks ago, I had the joy of hearing the amazing news that Judith has now successfully finished her course. She has been able to set up her own beauty salon and fulfill her dream of becoming a hairdresser and doing what she loves to do. And because of that opportunity, she now is able to provide for her young children, to have the dignity of being able to send them to school and provide for their needs. I am blown away by this young lady's determination. What an exceptional individual to have endured all that she has and still to have the strength to go again and to try and turn her life around. What I came to realise in Gulu was that Judith's story represents a whole generation of young people who have missed out on their education. Her story is their story, and we spoke to many young people whenever we were there, and the terrifying thing was the consistency with which the same trauma, the same loss of life, loss of opportunity, loss of hope just came up time and time again. An entire generation who have missed out on their education and the opportunities that they deserve. They need our support now more than ever. These young people are full of potential, but they're lacking the opportunity to be able to realise it. We want to unlock that potential. You can help us to provide young people like Judith with the opportunity to thrive and to flourish. Will you partner with us to provide the opportunity of vocational training to hundreds of young people like Judith in northern Uganda?
Wow. Every time I hear Judith's story, I'm just so humbled by her strength and her resilience. Our staff team have been keeping in contact with Judith, and her story is not an easy one for me to tell. Since we received Judith's story last year, we've heard that Judith has lost her husband. After everything that she has been through, she's having to rebuild her life again. It's hard to imagine the pain and suffering that Judith has been through in her short life. But thanks to the vocational skills that she has acquired, Judith, along with her friend Gloria, have their own hairdressing salon where they can provide a living for their families. If you would like to provide a scholarship to someone like Judith, it costs £100 or €100 per month, and it will last for 2 years. If you would like to sponsor a child like Mercy, it costs £24 or €28 per month. You will receive letters from your child, and you will get to see them grow up to become educated and living out their potential. If you would like to become a Hope Partner, it costs just £12 a month, and you can see children become educated and thrive. If you don't have money that you are able to give right now, we understand. And if you would like to take part in a virtual event, we're going to be launching our virtual Walk to Uganda again in a couple of weeks. So please keep a lookout for that. In closing, we just want to say a huge thank you to every single one of you who sponsors a child, who provides a scholarship to a young person, or who gives us a regular gift, or any donation at all. We do not take you for granted. Thank you. In closing, here are some of our amazing supporters on why they give to Fields of Life and the impact that it is making. Thank you for joining us tonight. Good night.
When I think of the family that I support through monthly giving, I just think of the word hope. I think of the hope that my gift is able to bring to their lives, but I equally think of the hope that they have given me. I think of making a change, but doing it in a sensible and positive and sustainable way.
When I think of the people of Ishingororo in southwest Uganda and the children of Ruyamagwizi Primary School, I think of the poverty-stricken, unhealthy community and the rundown school that we partnered with in 2014. And I smile broadly now when I think of the spontaneously dancing mothers when their water tanks arrived. And most importantly, the dancing children when they saw their new classrooms. And above all, I think of the warmth in their welcome as they continue to partner together on a journey of hope that will lead to self-sufficiency. A journey that gives us as a team so much more than we can ever give in return.
When I think about Ellen, the girl who I sponsor, I think about the fact that she's a similar age to me, but that her life is very different. Just because she was born in one country and I was born in another, her life opportunities are very different. This isn't fair, but through Fields of Life, we can try and play a small part in doing something about that.
I guess you think of stories like Trinity's where, you know, a child who was sponsored has now gone on to give back in their own way, in their own community, and how supporting one person can change a whole community.
For me, a child thrives in a safe environment where it can learn and be encouraged and have fun with peers and good leaders. And it is an absolute honour for me to be able to support the work of Fields of Life and to give a child or young person the opportunity just to achieve their goals and their dreams just like everyone else.
Our most recent commitment was to help to sponsor someone to go to the VTI in Gulu, and I've always been really touched by the images of child soldiers and things that we've heard from the LRA, and just the war-torn region of northern Uganda. And so when we had the opportunity to help, it's just such a joy to know that we can make a difference, and as parents ourselves, to know that you're helping to empower young adults to support their family makes such a difference.
It's a known fact that if you raise up the kids out of poverty, they need an education. And the more educated the young people are, the less they will fall into poverty, because they'll have the skills and the knowledge to do what they need to do to be able to move forward. And so, I will always support ministries that are all for educating the young people so that we can see them not in poverty.
These kids, these young people just don't have access to the kinds of privileges that my kids are growing up with here in Glasgow. I think of bags of potential who God has made, who God loves, who have gifts and talents, and yet not the same privileges and resources to raise them.
This is a picture of Nazik and my mum, and I really want Nazik to go to school. I like to read, and I hope she gets to read too and knows how to read. I think everybody in the world is the same, and everybody should be treated equally. Nobody should have more or less than each other.
I love that Feels Life has brought names and stories and faces to people that I wouldn't have met otherwise. And meeting, for example, a grandmother who has access to water for the first time and sees her grandkids getting education for the first time has been a really humbling experience to see on the ground for me, and just highlights our shared humanity and responsibility to work with each other across the globe.
We really love to support Lazique, specifically her education, because it's such a powerful tool to not only give a small bit now, but actually to really impact her life for the rest of her days.
Bye!